The Savannah River, separating Georgia and South Carolina, is full of great Southern heritage. And just as in past years, this river has the nemesis of having the most dangerous first turn in all of international outboard Grand Prix circuits. But in 1991, it was number 11, Mike Seebold, that fought the Southern tradition and took the checkered flag. Although the season had its ups and downs, it was Fort Lauderdale that settled the National High Points Championship. With this man, number 50, Craig Wendt of Old Quaker Paint, riding the checkered flag into the 1992 IOGP season. But in time trials, on Saturday, number 42, Chuck Skelton was the first to tangle with Lady Luck, bringing the crowd to its feet and bringing River Race Augusta into its 9th year.
The Bud Light Racing Series is brought to you by Mercury. At Mercury, we're driven to win. By Jeep, only in a Jeep. And by Ski Ray by Sea Ray. Set a world record. Own a Ski Ray.
Welcome back to the Savannah River. Steve Michael with Walt Yarborough. And as the boats get set to line up, Walt, some very interesting things have happened here in qualifying, and there's some disappointed drivers out there.
And one of the most disappointed, Steve, is this man right here. From the Rocky Mountains of Colorado here to the Savannah River, it's number 77, Scott Gilman. He was the Formula One champion in 1990, but unable to even make the field here in 1992. And my colleague is standing by with a totally devastated Scott Gilman.
The fans, the drivers, everybody's disappointed. Tell us what happened.
We've just had constant motor problems all week. We've blown up or gone through about 4 or 5 motors right now, and we just don't understand what's happening, and we're just doing everything we can to keep going. You know, everyone's worked so hard, and everyone's really burned out right now, and you know, we just don't know what to do.
Well, with Scott on the sidelines being a very unhappy spectator, we take a look at our current champion, Craig Wendt, out of Huntington Beach, California. He comes in qualifying 7th here on the Savannah River.
And then in his 4th year on the IOGP, this young man out of Ponce, Puerto Rico, sponsored by Don Q Crystal Rums, number 88, Felix Sorellis, goes out and lays down 127.9 to qualify 3rd overall on the field.
A major surprise to start the season off happened even before the first race, as Felix Sorellis, who has qualified 3rd, will not be in the race this afternoon.
It was yesterday in an SST 140 race where Felix Sorellis, along with former Unlimited driver Earl Hall, were involved in a horrific accident that left Felix Sorellis hospitalized for the weekend.
And a driver qualified in the runner-up spot, Greg Foster, getting his first chance ever to run a full season on the IOGP Tour, qualified at 128.2. The man on the pole out of St. Louis, Missouri, who's been racing for 40 years and is ready today, is Bill Seebold.
This man, Steve, they've called the master, was the master of disaster in 1991 without a win, but today qualifying at 131.3. Steve, you were able to talk to Bill.
The motor was turning about 9,700 RPM, and I knew at that point it was very fast. And luckily we got through the first turn very nice. You know, 2 years ago I went into that first turn about the same way I did yesterday and stuffed it under the water, and that knocked me out of the race basically. And basically, turn 1 and 2 went very well. It went up the backstretch well, turned about 9,500, and got to turn 3 and 4, and it just stayed right on the buoys, never tried to slide out on me, and exited off of turn 4 excellent, and just shot to the finish line.
Well, after a lot of clouds and rain this weekend, the sun is out, the fans are here, and it should be a great day for racing on the Savannah River. Hello, everybody. I'm Steve Michael, and welcome to Southern Georgia. We're in Augusta today for round number 1 of the IOGP season for 1992. Well, a year ago was Craig Wendt who won the championship, but today a different scenario, and we bring in the man, our expert today, Walt Yarborough, who will be with us all season long. And Walt, the scenario is set up this way. Bill Seebold puts himself squarely on the pole today after having a terrible season that he wants to forget about. This year, though, he's starting off the right way.
You bet he is. 131.3 miles an hour. He burned up the Savannah River, Steve. In behind him, Greg Foster had been sitting all day long, sitting on the pole position. He watched Bill Seebold go out and take it away from him.
but there is more than that can make this race change. Craig Went, number 50, Old Quaker Paint, our champion from last year. He can go out there and win it. 91, Steve D'Souza. Number 11, Michael Seebold, back in it. There's about 8 or 9 drivers, Steve, that we can throw a blanket over that can affect the 50 laps here on the Savannah River in Augusta, Georgia. It's going to be a great race.
And there's going to be a myriad of stories to watch. We'll bring them all for you. We're going to take a break and start things off from Augusta. We're glad you're with us here. We'll be back right after this. Welcome back to the Bud Light IOGP Formula One Powerboat Series here from Augusta, Georgia. As we take a look, the opening round this afternoon is just moments away from the start. Crews getting their drivers pointed in the right spot. A few more drivers ready to move toward the dock. Let's take a look, Walt, at this course description. 1.25 miles around.
Very narrow course here on the Savannah River. Steve, the water started off very calm, but will rough up during the race. A very deceptive race course, only 1.25 miles long, but a very quick course, and you don't want this to happen at the infamous turn number 1.
And 20 drivers ready to challenge this course, beginning with Bill Seebold on the pole, with Greg Foster, Billy Joel, and Steve D'Souza.
Augusta, Georgia's own Rusty Campbell, reigning champion Craig Went, Don Johnston, and Rick Adamczyk.
David Lee out of Alabama, Jay Price, the rookie Greg Quirk, and Drew Belk.
Number 78, David Ratcliffe. 27, John Nichols. Number 11, Mike Seebold. And number 18, Ron Wilson.
And the final 4, Larry Davis, Lee Ramsey, Ben Robertson, and Ken Davis. Year after year, the purse continues to climb in the IOGP. In 1992, the drivers racing for well over $500,000. And in addition to that, Mercury is handing out $50,000 in contingency purses. Plus, the driver who wins the championship this year will not only get a beautiful Jeep Cherokee, but how about a gorgeous 19-foot ski ray boat? That well over $40,000. And after 2 days of wearing jackets, well, today a beautiful afternoon, high of 84, only a 20% chance of rain. The winds 10 to 15. That shouldn't be a problem for the drivers, Walt.
No, Steve, they're used to 95 and 95. High temperatures and high humidity here in Augusta, Georgia. This is just perfect.
Seconds to go from the start wall. Opening round of the 1992 season.
And it's Steve D'Souza, who breaks very quickly from his number 4 starting position, the very smooth Savannah River, as 3 of them come out side by side. It's D'Souza, and Rusty Campbell comes out very quickly, Steve.
Campbell has found some superior speed. He is the surprise so far as he heads down into the hole shot and grabs the turn in pin number 1.
As Campbell goes around on the outside, coming down to the inside is 94 D'Souza and number 11, Michael Seebold, from way back in the field.
Seebold has made a tremendous jump. He started in 15th position. He is challenging for 3rd.
But the surprise of the day has to be this young Augusta native, sponsored by Arcadian, number 43, Rusty Campbell. Campbell driving a brand new boat designed by his team manager, Rourke Summerford, and powered by the electronically fuel-injected 2-liter Mercury, his first ever Formula One race.
Interesting thing about Campbell now, here is a guy who has won here many times in smaller classes. Today he gets his very first shot at racing Formula One boats, and he raced a little bit in preseason. He did a lot of club racing to get himself adjusted to this boat, and boy, is he adjusted and dialed in right now. He is leading this field.
And it was Rusty Campbell, along with his father and some other people, that 8 years ago brought this race here to Augusta, Georgia. He's moved up to the top Formula One class, and right now he looks to be the class of the field.
Well, we have seen in the past international flavor here in the race. We've got it today, and Campbell right now out in the lead, but it looks like it's the 2 Bud Light boats that are chasing him down, 2nd and 3rd. Bill in 2nd place, Mike in 3rd.
And right behind them, the interstate battery of number 94, Steve D'Souza. So all the field chasing this young man, and I know, Steve, he's got to be looking in the rearview mirrors going, are they behind me? Am I out in front? I tell you what, this young man, a 4-time MotoGP world champion, very astute at winning, but didn't think he would come out in Formula One this quickly and jump to a lead in front of his hometown crowd, where usually in the past, the history says, in front of the hometown, you're going to have bad luck.
Well, his boat builder and mentor, Rourke Summerford out of Tennessee, has to be very pleased. I wonder what's running through his mind right now with his driver out front like he is.
Well, I tell you what, he's looking back through the field and seeing the quality of the competitors chase him. When you've got number 11, Michael Seebold, number 7, Bill Seebold, 38, Bill Joel, 94, Steve D'Souza chasing your driver, I tell you what, you're down on one knee praying they don't catch you.
So D'Souza, as we see him coming through the corner here, he is holding position. He started 4th. He is now trying to challenge Mike Seebold for third. We'll see how his progress goes today.
Well, number 11, Michael Seebold, who won here in 1991, would love to back it up and be the first ever two-time winner here at Augusta, Georgia. It hasn't happened in the past. Well, it might happen today, though.
There's Bill Joel out of St. Petersburg, Florida. He's 27 years old, and he is now starting to be challenged by Foster out of California. Greg Foster in his very first year of going full-time in the Formula One Tour.
And I tell you what, this man right here, number 11, Mike Seebold, in behind his dad, Bill Seebold, you know, he's learned at the lap of the master, at the feet of the king. And I tell you what, after winning here last year, he'd love to back it up again, as I said earlier. But number 94, Steve D'Souza, that's a 3-year-old boat. That's a Burgess hull, built in England, powered by a Mariner, sponsored by Interstate Batteries. And this young man, after totally rebuilding the boat over the winter, hopes he's put the right stuff in.
Interesting that Steve D'Souza has left the canopy on the boat. Now, we saw that he did in qualifying. He wasn't sure if he would during the race because he wears glasses and because he's got a shield over his helmet, and then you put another shield over it. I think sometimes he feels a little claustrophobic with all that glass in front of his eyes.
I'm sure he does. And this man right here, number 43, Rusty Campbell, the first time running a totally enclosed capsule. The Mod VPs he ran in the past had a partially enclosed capsule. Of the boats constructed out here, we have some of wood and built in England, like this one right here that Don Johnson is driving. That's a brand new Burgess hull. We also have Lee Crafts, which are carbon fiber and epoxy resin hulls, and the wooden, very popular Seebold hulls built and designed by Bill Seebold.
Well, it'll be fun to watch, Walt, as the season goes on, whether the Seebold built hull is the way to go or whether the Burgess design is the fastest boat out there. This is something that has not been settled. Walt, if you feel this race course is narrow, let's take a look at the 24 Hours of Rouen. Thousands of people witness the ultimate international test of performance and reliability in outboard racing. More than just a race, this is the proving grounds for outboard manufacturing for everyday fishing and pleasure boating. This year, American Mercury Outboards dominated the field. For 24 hours and 809 grueling laps later, American Mercury's ran away from the field, claiming first, second, third, fifth, and sixth positions. But all the top finishers were not exotic racing engines. The sixth-place winner of the 2-liter class ran a 135 horsepower Mercury outboard, already seasoned with 1,200 hours of use on a commercial fishing boat. So, Walt, maybe we can keep the grueling test going on the IOGP circuit as we return to the Savannah River right after this. Welcome back to the opening round of the Bud Light Formula One IOGP Powerboat Series. Steve Michael with Walt Yarborough, and we are in Augusta, Georgia. And at the moment, there has been a surprise. The man out in front is Augusta's own Rusty Campbell.
And Campbell used to being a world champion, but he was 4 times a world champion in Mod VP. His first ever Formula One race right here in front of the hometown crowd, and he's got the best in the world chasing him, Steve.
Including this man, Mike Seebold, as he comes thundering down the back stretch. He has been racing for 20 years. And he has won numerous races, including this in the past, and he'd love to make it a second time for him here in Augusta.
This young man who won here in 1991, he's back out chasing the field. He's got Don Johnston, a man who won here back in 1989, right in behind him. And, of course, our reigning world champion from 91, that is Craig Wendt back there in about 6th position.
And now Mike Seebold is being challenged by another driver from Augusta. That's Steve D'Souza in the Interstate's boat number 94 in the Burgess, and he is trying to take him on the inside.
And D'Souza moved here a couple of years ago from out in the state of Washington. Has his family here, his race shop here, sponsored by Interstate Batteries and Mariner Outboards, is making a hard push for 1992 to win the overall championship. And this is the place he's got to begin.
And D'Souza also making a guessing game of hulls. He's one of a few drivers that have a pair to choose from. He chose the Burgess today.
Well, he chose the Burgess because he's had more seat time in it. The Ram Custom hull that he purchased from Rick Adamczyk is his backup boat. He doesn't have the seat time in it, doesn't trust it, and is not ready to run in this competitive an event with it.
Well, they say Steve D'Souza is fast. You have to be able to finish in the last 7 years in the top 5. He's the only driver ever to finish in the top 5 for the 7-year history of the IOGP. Maybe this might be the year where he can establish himself as a champion.
And of course, Steve D'Souza understands what it takes to be a champion is the very finest in mechanical equipment. Everything's got to be right. He's got to have the latest innovation. And Mercury Marine, always on the leading edge of technology, has come out with a brand new product. Let's take a look at it, Steve.
Well, Walt, as you know, drivers are sometimes very superstitious about trying new ideas in racing. Well, the Wendt brothers with Craig Wendt and Don Johnston seem to be very excited about this new idea from Mercury, bottle kits.
We added this gear case bottle in there, and what it does is when you first take off, you suck in air and water through the prop shaft. And what it does is it gives somewhere for that water and air to go into that reservoir, and it's solved all our problems. It's made, it made us real reliable and real durable, and the gear case is one less thing that we have to worry about now.
And the only thing this man right here has got to worry about is when are they going to catch up with me, or can they catch up with me? Number 43, he's got a lot of people chasing him, and like Seebold, number 11, has moved up to second place.
Campbell now holding on to first, but all of a sudden it looks like the gap's getting a little bit closer, Walt, and this race is really heating up front.
Well, some of the slower back markers are already beginning to be lapped. You see Larry Davis looking in his rearview mirrors. He sees Bill Seebold and Steve D'Souza coming up on the inside. Look at him roar down the inside on the backstretch of this race course.
D'Souza likes to turn the wick up as the race goes on, and he is doing it now. He is stalking his opponents, and he has moved up another place.
Of course, as the fuel loads begin to burn down, Steve, the boats get a little lighter, and that's the way that D'Souza likes it. He likes it where he can just dance it on the race course.
So D'Souza now in second place. We'll be back from Augusta with more exciting action when we return right after this. Welcome back to Augusta, Georgia for the Bud Light IOGP Formula One Powerboat Series race here, round number 1. And while we were away, we have a new leader. Steve D'Souza has passed Rusty Campbell and has moved into first place. And here is another driver, Walt, that is on the charge moving forward.
That's Rick Adamczyk. He won last year in Pittsburgh. He used to be on the Don Q team. Now he's running for Diamond Marine in one of the Ram Custom hulls. There was such a demand for his boats early this year, he sold out. That's a 4-year-old boat he's driving out here on the Savannah River.
And he started back in 8th position, has moved his way up to 3rd at the moment. So despite having an older hull, he is a tremendous driver, and he's showing his skill working his way through traffic.
And one of the advantages some of the drivers have that build and design their own boats is they know exactly how far they can push those boats.
Well, Rick is going to try to do the complete tour this year. It's got to be difficult for drivers if they can't complete the full year, because you really need to fine-tune it all the way through 8 races.
Well, yeah, that's right. And you know what a race boat is? It's a hole in the water you throw money into. And without national sponsorships like Interstate Batteries for Steve D'Souza, the money for a lot of the drivers is just not there.
Well, D'Souza has been racing a long time, 23 years. Now, here is a guy who has won 3 national titles, has set 2 world records, and at one time, Walt, he won over 20 heat races in a row.
And that experience has allowed him to charge his way to the front here in Augusta, Georgia, in front of the hometown crowd, where Steve D'Souza, with his national sponsorship, is going to be able to campaign the entire circuit.
D'Souza is the driver of the 90s. He carries a briefcase as well as getting into a race boat. He knows how to take care of his sponsors. He does a tremendous job in that aspect of the sport, which has become very important today.
And, of course, what's very important is charging to the front, and that's what he's done. Oh, red flag has come out. The race is going to be stopped. Greg Quirk, number 13, gone over in the water, and with only 18 laps left to go, the lead that Steve D'Souza has built up is gone. He's lined up back at the start dock in the rain.
So with the rookie out of Babylon, New York, coming out of the water, this race has been halted. Back with more from Augusta when we return right after this. Welcome back to Augusta, Georgia, as we get set for a restart here on the opening round of the Bud Light IOGP Formula One Powerboat Series. Steve Michael with Walt Yarborough. And Walt, this will be a sprint race to the finish.
And can Rusty Campbell jump out to the start he did earlier? Will Steve D'Souza take over his lead? Here they come as they come roaring off the dock, set out there across the Savannah River as 20 boats come roaring away with Steve D'Souza down on the inside.
Fans have to love it here in Augusta. You see Steve D'Souza in the green, number 94, on the inside lane, going for the whole shot. There's a long stretch down into turn number 1. This is a 1.25-mile course, and at the moment, 2 drivers from Augusta, Georgia are 1-2 in this race.
And it's a dream come true for the people here in Augusta to see 2 hometown boys running side by side. But it's Steve D'Souza, the transplant from Seattle, Washington, who's got the lead. And the man who's born and raised here in Augusta, Georgia, Rusty Campbell, back in second. And the boy from New York City, it is number 5, Rick Adamczyk, back there in third.
Drivers really love this course. Why? Because the water is very calm out in the opening laps, and it gives a big advantage to the guys who are running in the clear water. Why is that, Walt?
Well, because deep water runs smooth, and of course for years it was old cotton barges coming up and down the Augusta River, but now it's Formula One race boats. Very smooth water, sloping banks has allowed number 94 Steve D'Souza in the interstate battery entry to jump out to a strong lead, but it begins to get rough because the river is very narrow.
And of course, on restarts, drivers get a second chance, and this man right here, Greg Foster out of California, is getting that, and now he is challenging D'Souza for the overall lead.
Of course, his great chance came in 1992, and he got that sponsorship from the Pioneer Hotel and Gambling Hall out of Laughlin, Nevada, to run the entire circuit this year. But it's going to get rough out there on the Savannah River, and can he maintain it in that carbon fiber epoxy resin hull? Well, that remains to be seen. But right there, number 5, Rick Adamczyk, the boy from New York City, up there and pushing hard on number 43, Rusty Campbell. But number 94, Steve D'Souza, has just jammed it out in the lead. And look, right now he is not running that totally enclosed cockpit lid. He is taking it off during the restart.
I think it's gotten hotter and hotter as the afternoon has gone on, and he obviously feels more comfortable with that canopy off. Now, you know D'Souza, you've known him for a long time. What's his thoughts here as we wind down this race?
Well, Steve D'Souza, again, likes to drive a boat with a light fuel load. He likes it to dance on the race course. He loves to accelerate hard and go out to the front. D'Souza's biggest problem in the past has always been he gets a lead, he tries to stretch it out too far. He overpushes equipment. I talked to him earlier this last week. He said, if I get out front this year, Walt, I'm not going to push the equipment too hard. So that remains to be seen because he's got that lead built up. Can he maintain it?
Well, the white flag comes out, 1.25 miles remaining for Steve D'Souza. Can he keep it together for 4 more corners?
As he comes out of the backstretch and into turns 3 and 4 for the final time, here he comes, the winner here in Augusta. The checkered flag comes out for 94, hometown boy Steve D'Souza.
And the battle's not over. Who will finish in second place? It is this man, Greg Foster out of California. And coming home in third is the second driver from Augusta, Rusty Campbell.
But the happiest man in Augusta, Georgia, is that man right there, Steve D'Souza. He brings it home. A very joyous family down at the dock as he loads up the boat. And now let's go down to my colleague, Steve Michael, as he gets a word with the winner, Mr. Steve D'Souza.
Well, it's a big family gathering, the biggest gathering this family has ever been with this driver. Congratulations, Steve D'Souza. Guess what? You just matched your victory total of a year ago in the very first race in 1992.
No,
congratulations.
Thank you very much. I tell you, I just got to thank the Lord. We've been through some difficult things. My younger sister died last month, and we have had just problem after problem. Our team just didn't give up, and without him, we just couldn't have done it. He gave us the strength and the courage to keep going, and we got it all together. And yesterday, it started coming together. And as of last night, my mechanic still tore the engine down completely, rebuilt the engine, put it back together. I got a half a lap this morning just to break it in, and he said it's either going to go or it's going to blow. And everything was perfect. Our crew did a great job. I just can't thank the Interstate guys, our sponsors. We're just happy. What a great way to start the year.
So finishing with 650 points, giving himself a 125-point advantage, is Steve D'Souza in first.
Boy, it's got to be exciting for him and his crew. What a way to start the year. The momentum has started, and it's always nice to get that first race out of your way, and on top of that, winning it too.
Yeah, and winning it gives him the points lead towards that magnificent Jeep Cherokee and that Ski Ray boat. That's a package worth over $40,000, and they got one leg up on the rest of the field.
And Greg Foster coming home in second place out of California. Greg qualified in second. He finished second. Rusty Campbell, another driver from Augusta. They're getting sprayed with champagne. What a great day for the fans here in Augusta, Georgia.
And a great day for Greg Foster right there is with his sponsor, Pioneer Hotel and Gambling Hall. He's happy to finish in third place.
Well, one round down. We got a long way to go in this 1992 season. We're off next to Bay City, Michigan for the Mid-Michigan Pontiac River Roar. So for Walt Yarborough, I'm Steve Michael saying so long, everybody.
The Bud Light Racing Series was brought to you by Mercury, by Jeep,